So what's the bingo card again, please?
Yeah, well, it's only the three of us to start with. Good afternoon, good morning, hang on. There's a star player's coming to join us, and he should be in a lot better resolution because he's got a better graphics card or something like that.
No, not yet. It's arriving this morning. I hope it'll take a while.
Yeah. So that's you're still the low res version of you.
This is just Mr. Pixel to you.
Hang on, I've noticed something. Ian has fixed his resolution problems. Ian looks normal. Normally, he's all pixelated to me.
Ian never looks normal.
Normal.
That would be CGI if he looked normal.
He's not going to say anything.
I can't remember. I was going to say there's a term for those. What's those like animated things where you can program them to say what you want? And
deep fake. He's a deep fake.
Not the deep fake.
A deep fake.
But you know, there's the computer animated person that says something.
This is a very shallow fake of Elon Musk here.
Yeah, not deep at
but
all.
Shallow on so many levels.
Let's start on this M30 then thing. I'm sure most people are waiting for us.
That's boring, isn't it? It's another DJI drone that you can't fly near an airport. What's the use of that?
I think it's I think it's a bold move. Showing everyone where the industry. We've all been saying that it'll be drones in the box. We've all been saying you won't be having the operators going out and doing most of the tasks, and there they are. And but what I found interesting in that new chap's speech was, how did he keep putting it? We're still learning. We haven't perfected it. Something like that. I was like, oh yeah, what are you telling us there?
Software update coming.
It's a very interesting product. You know, it's. What was interesting is if you look at where it's been seeded, it was actually seeded to only about 2 or 3 YouTube channels, Potato Jet being one of them, who tends to cover some more high-end video gear. He does a lot with like the Reds and stuff. And even he looked a little bit out of his depth with it in the sense of this isn't his target market. You know, it's not a cine drone. It very much is a... it's not an inspection zone. It's not a drone. It's not a cine drone. It's a really search and rescue tool is what it is, and it is a hell of a tool at that. When you look at the zoom capability, it is unbelievably impressive, especially when you add in on top
that's his only thermal
capability.
It's the new Intel Unicopter. We should be talking about this.
Yeah, the new the thermal capability as well. And again, we believe DJI aren't using FLIR anymore because they can't. And look, if they're not using FLIR, they've caught up really quick. And interestingly,
I saw that.
This is
but when they're talking Starlight,
the US
Starlight, which is totally different to FLIR. Starlight's just low light intensity, is not infrared.
Well, it might be different, but it works a hell of a lot closely like it. But the thing is, this is a classic example of that. This American thing may do them more harm than good in the end because they've pushed them into a corner to use something else, and that something else has already caught up with what they were doing in very closely in a short period.
It's exactly ITAR. That's what made DJI was the fact that ITAR stopped American companies exporting stuff.
Yeah.
So it is exactly the same again, except instead of being the aircraft part of it now, which is done everywhere, it's the sensors part of it.
Yeah. And it's bloody impressive. And the drone itself has, they've learned a lot of lessons. If you look at the FPV camera now looks good, and like the Inspire 2s where you couldn't use it at all. It's got night FPV camera. It's got a ridiculous zoom. It's got the laser. But there's some really clever stuff in the software, like being able to pinpoint stuff on the screen at 200 times zoom, and it will give you the coordinates of that, and be able to go back and look at it again whenever you want to. So I think, okay, as always with DJI, you've got to be careful of what they haven't said. So because everything here is so new, we have a lovely new remote, which I'll be honest, looks very, very nice. There's a lot of new here. So the question mark is what's missing? What won't we have? But it looks rather polished when you look at, there's a new pre-flight screen, which is fantastic. People have been screaming for that for years. They bring up a pre-flight screen that allows you to set the return to home altitude, set the battery level return homes, and all of that before you take off. So it brings it up and says, this is what the current settings is. Are you happy with it? That's fantastic because it just brings it all to the pilot's attention before he takes off. So there's a lot good here. There's an awful lot good. And just look at the price. Who can get near that? Who can get near that tech for that money?
I was pretty astounded in the live stream, the people moaning about the price, and I was just thinking, well, this doesn't seem. And I was thinking, what's wrong with me? This doesn't seem too bad. There's something wrong with me. I was very surprised.
You too. You've invested heavily in Bitcoin, so stop bragging.
It's true. Yeah, I think there is a problem DJI have created that they have. The problem with a lot of these streams is you've got to take into account the people watching them really aren't the audience for this product. You know, if you look at, they seeded one to Potato Jet, who's a fine YouTuber who has a great channel, but this is designed for fire departments, police, search and rescue, and private organizations that want to do maybe surveillance on properties and stuff like that.
I should have sent one to you, Ian. You've had a lot of experience with fires.
I do have a lot of experience. I can set a lipo on fire from 400 foot. But yeah, and I do wonder at times, you see the audiences in this, and it's the Mavic audience, not the M30 audience. And I think that's probably where you're seeing people complain about the price. $10,000, I think, wasn't it? The cost. That's for the base model. That's not bad. That really isn't bad.
I would actually take one at that kind of money.
Yeah.
That to me would be ideal for a lot of work I do.
Yeah.
You know, if you're someone who's got a large site you want to survey, it's very, very ideal. Do you know what I mean? And look, okay, they're pushing the marketing to the limit again. They showed it taking off in the rain. They do rate it for that. But
there's one question on that though. So the M210 was IP rated, self-certified.
Yes.
And they did that without it taking off and no props on it or anything. I hope they've done this one properly.
That's interesting. Look, that they've really maybe it's the first time I've ever noticed this. They've really slowed the ascent descent 6 meters at 5 meters a second with a maximum horizontal speed of 23. And max tilt descent speed. I've only just noticed. All DJI stuff do that. That doesn't seem like big numbers to me.
It's not particularly fast craft, but it's
well, it shifts, doesn't it? Let's face it.
About 50 mile an hour, I think they said, won't it?
Yeah, it's not slow.
It's not slow, but that's quite slow in climbing and descending. It's a lot of time. There's a lot of flight time happening.
Yeah, what happens when the ADS-B alarm goes off and there's an aircraft coming, you've got to descend rapidly. I mean, being able to descend rapidly is a really important safety feature. Just ask the Chinese airlines.
Oh dear, don't even go there. Don't even go there. That's terrible. I mean, goodness knows what's happened there.
I mean, what's interesting is, like, normally you don't ascend much faster than 2 or 3 meters a second anyway under certain things. If you're coming down faster than that, you've got to be careful because you can get stuck in the vortex if you're doing the straight down descent and it's a hot day. You can get caught out. It can bite you anyway. So your max ascent and descent, you know, you don't want it to be too fast anyway because it'll catch you out. Now the flight time was interesting as well, wasn't it? If you just have to scroll back up.
It's back up here, isn't it?
It was. What was it? 41 minutes or something?
Maximum flight time, max 41 minutes. Yeah.
So probably looking at 35 to 30 realistically.
Yeah.
That's not bad. How heavy is it, by the way? Can we just double check?
It's quite heavy. When you look at
3.7 max takeoff weight 4 kilos, but 3.7 including
now,
2.
What's really interesting then? So that sits right on the A2C of C max weight limit because that's 4 kilos. Now the other thing that's really going to be really interesting, and we kind of touched on it just before we started, is the return on investment on one of these.
And there's a couple of really interesting little features, as you said. You know, one of the big ones, it'll record from all of the cameras at the same time to the SD card. So all of the cameras will record independently to the SD card at the same time, which is something we haven't seen them do before. So you can record thermal and the FPV and the zoomed camera.
So does it need a high-spec SD card, V30 or something like that, or higher?
The thing is, we've got tons of speed anyway, Bruce, on the cards, because you got the V30s. We're only recording at like 12 megabits a second, and these cards will do well over 100 already. So they shouldn't need anything specific from a card point of view. It's got the option for dual remotes. It's got a better object avoidance system. And then you've got this takeoff dock. Okay, some people have expressed a few concerns on it, that it charges the batteries, but it doesn't swap them. So if you're going to be doing lots of flights, for instance, DJI rate the batteries for 400 uses or 400 cycles on this aircraft. And this is a new spec. I've never seen them published before. They've actually rated the batteries in the specs.
Wow.
Do they have a lifetime as well in terms of years?
I think it was use. Let me just have a look. It was on the
charges. Did I see that the DJI flight software, the Flight Hub software, is subscription for some things as well?
Yeah, it always has been. Yes, you have got to pay for it.
Because it is interesting. It can build a real-time 3D map for you, can't it? You can literally take the photos, and it literally builds it there for you, and then you can share it with other people in real time. It's absolutely crazy, some of the stuff they can now do.
They're certainly smashing it out of the park. This is... especially if we look at some of the blue UAS stuff that we've seen, and you got Teal, and you've had look, this is right up their street, and not only is it right up their street, they've gone straight over the top, and
they're in the next town.
Well, the rangefinder, if that's tagging the images as well as a GPS location for things, that is just a big winner. Because you're going to be able to
dragging the video's not run. Did you see as he drags us across the terrain? It drags us. It pulls it to the terrain. Look,
it's incredible. It's really something.
That'd be really, really handy.
And another thing they've and look, I'm going to go down the data aspect with this. Is they have talked about data a lot more than they ever have. They're making it absolutely clear that China models will upload to Chinese servers, US and Europe models will upload to American AWS servers. They even give you the option of erasing the onboard SD card of all data. Now, they haven't done that in over 5 years that I can recall. So one of the big complaints people have had in the past is using the drone for sensitive stuff, because there is an onboard SD card for the logs, and DJI removed the ability to erase that. They've given that back. So they are starting to take this data thing, seriously.
Mind you, if you don't trust them, there could be NVRAM and some of the ASICs and goodness knows what. So it's a cosmetic thing, isn't it? It's a feel good thing. There's no guarantees. So I don't think
never a guarantee, though, is it? No, and does your iPhone actually erase when you hit erase? Do you know what I mean? There's always those concerns, but it's hard to fault them for what they're saying and doing here. The product looks very good. The price for what it is outstanding. And okay, for me, I think something I'd like to see, and I think something they need to do better now, is talk about the longevity more. And this is something we were talking about off stream, actually. And DJI's biggest complaint from customers is, this is very nice. The V2 will be out in 12 to 18 months, and it will have better this or that. And it's not that people don't expect upgrades. What we need is them to commit to this product for 4 years, say, and say, we guarantee we will have support, firmware updates, and fixes in place for the next 4 years. I get on the consumer line, look, you're spending small to medium money, you get what you pay for there. But on these enterprise products, they almost now need to say, right, like a bit like Microsoft do. They do this with Windows. This has been erased, and we guarantee 8 years of support in this manner. And DJI need to step up that thing now for people, because I've seen a lot of comments saying this is all very nice, but what happens in 2 years' time?
Yeah. The wording when they were talking in the chat was talking, it was a bit like, but we'd like your feedback and we could do better. It's like, whoa, okay. But straight out the box, as they say, or from a viewed from afar, it looks very good.
If you're going to say, if you were saying they're coming out fighting would be an understatement. It makes the rest of those blue UAS look like toys, frankly. And the Skydio.
You're right. I hadn't put that in my head, but you're exactly right.
Does this put the USA at a huge disadvantage now compared to other nations?
Yeah. Anyone that's doing proper inspection work or serious search and rescue, you want one of those. You really do. Now, there's 3 versions, is there not?
Yes, there is.
Where did
there
I
is,
see
because
that?
the dock, well, there's 4. So there's one version of each, thermal and non-thermal, and then there's a version of that for the dock, because it's not the same aircraft. There's a modification to it. So there's 4 variants in total.
Right. Now, what's interesting about the dock, can we just scroll to
We'll
the
go
dock?
back there. It is.
Yeah, so there's the dock. And what's interesting is, as it closes, it lines the aircraft back up. But do you notice a little weather station on the left?
Yeah.
So it even knows if the weather's too bad, it won't launch the aircraft. Even if you
how many times have we said that that's going to be what it's like in the future? It didn't need to be Nostradamus to work that out, that somebody would start doing that. But it's here now, to be fair. It is here.
Sorry, Ian. So what I also find interesting is, so they have a 4G bolt-on. So what's also covered in this is you can put a 4G little modem into it to connect, so you don't have to be anywhere near anything, just need cell service. How many regulators are now going to go, oh crap, because this now has made we'll have to make regulators try to catch up again, because the regulators are just going to be left behind as well. People want it.
That's a given. They've been left behind.
Yeah.
That's not even a thing, is it? They've been left behind.
It's quite funny on it. And Bruce makes an interesting point. Okay, the 4G isn't available in the US. We've seen this with the Mavic 3, because the Mavic 3 has that capability, and people are actually importing the adapters and using them, and they are working, but you're not allowed to officially do it. You've got DJI now, who are not allowed to sell to government. Government are not allowed to use their products, yet this is potentially the best surveillance drone on the market for whatever that surveillance might be, search and rescue, anything like that. The UK doesn't have any bans on them in that place. The Europe doesn't, as you say, the US has put itself as a bit disadvantage here with this.
You wouldn't get a DJI aircraft on most military bases in the UK.
No, military's different, but I'm talking in America, you're not allowed to use it for any government associated at all. Do you know what I mean? You're going to see the UK police all over this. And that remote, DJI do make me laugh, man. They've called this the RC Plus. So we had the RC Pro, which was smaller and not as good on the Mavic 3. And now we've got the RC Plus. Plus surely is lower than Pro in the naming scheme of things.
I want to see the ultimate version. I want to see the RC Ultimate.
I was expecting Pro Plus Black Edition,
Platinum,
something like that.
What do we actually get in the box then? So what do we actually get for the base version then? The 10,000.
Well, someone must have done an unboxing to answer that, surely.
Yes.
What do we actually get then? What do people actually get? So we get the aircraft.
The aircraft remote and 2 batteries, I think, Mark.
So
where do we exactly? Where's the buy one now button?
You can't. You've got to contact them. And what's interesting is, and this is something else I've noticed.
Package,
the second time they've done this, you've got to register your interest for this, and they did this with the Ronin 4D. They haven't committed to manufacturing numbers on this yet, is the way I'm looking at it. Because you've got to contact them. Now, they are selling enterprise products directly on their website now. However, for this, you've got to contact them. So I'm wondering if they haven't fully committed to production numbers yet.
Because what I think is interesting then is, like, when they normally do stuff and you get the smart controller, I wonder how much that controller costs and the aircraft costs. When you start breaking it down, they would charge a couple of $1,000 just for the controller.
I'm sure someone said the remote was $2,500.
Wow. So the aircraft's only 7.5?
I'm sure it was said the remote is $2,500.
Well, just buy the one that works from the Wi-Fi on your phone and just work out the difference in price.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the kicker will be that just 2 batteries, because it takes 2 batteries to fly it, does it? Or is
it does. It's very much the inspect, but they're hot swappable as well.
Yeah, so you can eject one, put another one in,
Yeah.
which saves GPS lock every time and everything else.
A GPS lock being the thing mentioned by our Maverick fraternity in the comments, and that's still got to be fixed.
I've played with the same Mavic 3 that Ian's played with. Well, I've seen it, and it didn't take that long to lock into its GPS at all.
No, I think
maybe it's just Wales.
I think it's less of a problem in the UK. Something else I haven't mentioned as well, which we haven't seen, is it does triple live feed at the same time. Whereas I said it also recorded the feeds, it will do triple live feed as well. There's a lot of new stuff on this we haven't seen from them before. The only question is it there on launch? You know,
it's reminded me of something.
It'd be good if you could point that camera slightly left or right and have those ones straight on, and then you'd have a wider field of view with your multiple images.
Yeah, well, you've got the thermal. I don't know what sensor they're using, but it's very, very similar to FLIR. Very, very, very similar to FLIR. Because it's a proper thermal sensor, I believe.
Yeah, it was on there. Where was it?
Yeah, no, it's an uncooled Vox microbolometer.
So if you stop just there, if you look at the aircraft again, if you just go, stop here, just scroll back down to the next image. So they've done the same trick as they've done on the Mavic 3 for the props. Have you noticed?
Yes.
So they've gone ultra quiet. So this is a Mavic 3 prop, and the tips are rubber, so you can bend them. This one is off the same one that Ian had, because one of them is slightly damaged. The end, it's starting to just come away. Look, I don't know if you can see that.
Just been in a fray.
So these get damaged really easy. They're glued on, and they're quite interesting. But it looks like they've done the same tech again. So the blade is at the end. It's rubber to make it quieter. It's all about make noise reduction at the end.
Or just reduce the amount of blood that flows when you accidentally brush against them.
And the voice of Switzerland is joining us now. Now, I happen to know Louis thinks this thing's rubbish. He said it's rubbish. He'd never have it.
Switzerland's very narrow, isn't it, compared to the rest of us?
Yes, Switzerland is narrow. Yes.
No, it's not. It's not that. I think it remains to be seen in the field. We all heard about the wonderful stories of the M300. We all heard about wonderful stories of the Mavic 3. And I think they're doing that's the goal, guys. Sorry, the batteries which are airplane friendly, something that we haven't seen since the M210 V1.
What's the watt hours for airplanes again?
100.
99. Oh, yeah, one.
So.
No, they're 131.
So not airplane friendly.
No.
So that's the guys clearly don't know, are not part of this world. I can tell you, I'm in the headquarters now, and I just came here to pick up an M210 V1. We still keep M210s V1. Because we need to go wherever the plane takes. So if I go with an M300, it has to go by transport, by truck. It takes a week to get there, and I can get to the location with an M210 V1 in 2 hours of plane ride.
Funny enough,
the camera.
If anyone's got an any sort of matrice in Mauritius, I know someone that needs one for a job, and he exactly. That's why we've got to find out if we can find one there. is to avoid traveling with it. It's exactly the same issue.
No,
Exactly.
and we had the M600, which was a pain in the ass to do the management of 6 batteries, but all those batteries were plane friendly. So I rather have, instead of 2 batteries, come on, DJI, make it 4 batteries. I don't care, but put the batteries airplane travel friendly. This is not the way to go. Besides the camera, oh, very good optical zoom, and this and that, and look at the sensor. Is it a sensor? Recently, I've been using the hotel drones to do some testing, and I can tell you that the difference between a 1-inch sensor and any other sensor is amazing. You get the light properly, you get everything properly. So once you get a good sensor on the camera, it's a good way to have a guarantee that the job will be well done.
Yeah, they're using a 1/2 inch again. All the sensors are 1/2 inch. They're not using 1 inch. They're using the 1/2 inch sensor.
Yeah, so remains to be seen. Come on, a 1/2 inch sensor with a f2.8 maximum overture. I'm not so sure. Okay, we can go, and instead of taking pictures, we can do computational photography. That's what the iPhones and the Samsung phones are, or the Android phones in general are doing. But that is not a real picture. So I don't know. I'm serious. I have serious questions. Then we get that smart dock. Okay. Welcome to the club of all the Ardo pilot partners that have already done docks for the drones. Welcome to other manufacturers. Welcome to Skydio that did a dock. Welcome to Hotel that also did a dock. Welcome to 2022 DJI. But the thing is, I really cannot understand, with all the smart people that lives down there, why did they go with the stupid batteries and with the small sensor? Sometimes they do things that are hard to understand. I'm sure they have the wonderful marketing plan all lined up, which we are not aware of. But with all the restrictions that are moving forward in several areas of the world, I'm not so sure they will have much success with the machine. Something great about this machine is finally the release of the version 5 of the SDK. Oh God, DJI, were you guys expecting to put this drone on the street to present the new SDK? Come on, give us a break. We needed that SDK a long time ago, but okay, better later than ever.
So DJI have spent millions on this drone. Louis has just ruined it all for them.
Come on. I'm looking at it. No, Bruce, the thing is, I'm looking at it as a potential user. And I can see immediately some of the issues that will create problems to my usage. I cannot keep sending drones by transportations, paying 2,000 euros to ship a drone from one side of Europe to the other. It's impossible. The amount of paperwork that you are obliged to supply to a carrier to do battery transportation is mind-boggling. It's completely crazy.
So is this a gap in the market? Is there a place for drone rentals more than there is, where you can have people that will provide you with the drone on site with the batteries ready to go, you fit your payload and away you go? Is that not a huge potential market?
Yes, and there are some companies that do it. The thing is, what's the cost? And usually a rental of a drone, an industrial drone, costs in 2 weeks the same as the drone itself. So
a lot of profit there then.
Yeah. So that's an issue.
Well,
there are some stuff that you can do with the rental. So rent the batteries locally, but then there's a problem because come on, I need, let's say, for an operation with three systems in place, I need, let's say, on an M300 class vehicle that takes 2 batteries, I need 3 teams. I need 18 sets of batteries as a minimum.
So they just say you're not the target market.
So how do I ship 18 sets of batteries, and what's the price of renting 18 sets of batteries? Come on, I do. Each system does an average of 40 to 50 flights per day. I just kill batteries like chewing them. So that's not an easy task. So having lots of batteries and being able to move batteries around is fundamental for the industrial market.
Well, sort of sounds like you're sort of the person that'd be up for some hydrogen or something, or some other alternative wonder fuel, or even just tethered.
Run your drone on water. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you tether your systems, which are largely used for windmill inspections? Or is that too much commercial IP? Don't worry if you can't say.
Let's just say if you have a windmill that has the tower at 120 meters high, and you have to inspect the top blade that is, let's say, 80 meters, so you're flying at 200 meters. Can you get me a cabled system for 200 meters?
Yep, just use very high voltage, low current, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Fly from,
and the
fly
drop
from
on
the
the
top
line.
of the fly from the top of the windmill.
Yeah.
Trebuchet.
That's
the word. Trebuchet. That's the word.
Yeah, but then
there are various options. Come on, obviously the power line, the connection from the ground is a possibility, but it's not viable with all the ups and downs that the cable. I remember a company that I worked with had a drone, very big drone, that would carry batteries just as a failsafe, because it would only fly 4 or 5 minutes with the batteries. But that drone was made to act as an emergency cell tower relay. So they would put the drone in the air at 150 meters. They had almost a container just for the cabling. And it was a very, very large helicopter.
Sure.
So it would stay in the air for 6 hours.
Why don't they build the inspection technology into the wind turbine? I mean, surely that would save all this drone work. I mean, you could have, obviously on the hub of the wind turbine, you could have some kind of camera system, and you only need, I assume you can rotate the windmill so that you only need to go up as far as the hub. You don't have to go above there to get the other planes. Just turn it around a bit. And wouldn't that simplify the task a lot?
Oh God, Bruce, welcome to the crazy world of wind inspections. Come on, there are even guys that do condition monitoring through the noise the blades do. Come on, there are so many approaches, and usually the simplest one is the most effective. It's just a matter of don't over-engineer a problem that has an easy solution.
So just knock it on the ground and then walk around.
Oh yeah. To get a good perspective of the damages, I've been there. I did the test. There are companies that are selling systems that they put on a very nice enclosure, and then they put a Nikon or a Sony camera with a big telephoto lens. The problem is then you have to move away from the turbine quite far away to take the pictures. And let's just say on some turbines that are near a cliff, putting the turbine in position or the camera in position might be a challenge. It's not viable because the thing is you have to do an economical minimum of inspections per day. And setting up a ground-based system might not give the productivity that you need to make the business sustaining. Bruce, welcome to the challenge.
You just need a blade walker, a device that fits on the blade, walks up the blade, takes photos every 100 millimeters, I think, and makes mosaic of it.
Yes,
gets to the hub, switches blades.
Yes, there is a spider-like device that walks on the blades. You are really not seeing the size of the blades. But some of them are really, really huge, Bruce. Really huge. Come on, 80-meter blades.
I've seen them. They look about that big when I see them on the landscape. These things, they don't look big at all.
But the other thing you've got to remember as well. So the other thing is those turbine companies, the operators, that they want that turbine back up and running again in a quick, prompt time as well. Because if it's shut down for any more than an hour, they do not like that because it's costing them.
1 hour? Oh God, you're very.
Any longer than half an hour, they get a bit stroppy.
No, come on. A wind turbine at the current energy prices and operating at normal can generate to the owner several thousand euros, dollars per hour. So having a turbine stopped is less revenue that they make, besides having to pay for the survey. So it's there are a lot of things going around that prevent several methods to be effective. Although on paper they look wonderful. Oh, the spider one that crawls alongside the blade. Oh God, that's so nice to see.
So slow.
Then use freestyle drones. You won't even have to stop the turbine. You just fly around with them.
Yeah, Bruce, especially because the tip of a blade can be at 300 kilometers per hour. Nice one. Go for it.
Windy Miller is my hero. He can always walk through the blades. Windy Miller never had any problem getting through those blades.
Yeah.
So if Windy can't do it, no one can. I'll have to send you a video. It's not a reference. Only English people will get that reference. That's an English people. He's my hero because he could whistle for the wind and he could make it go away. And when I was a balloon driver, I wanted to whistle for the wind when I wanted a night off. And then he drank a lot of cider. So he's a folk hero on many levels. Windy Miller.
The industrial, not only the windmills, but the industrial inspections have lots of constraints. Come on, bridges have their own set of problems. Cell phone towers, they have their own set of constraints regarding interference with all the electronic systems.
How did we manage before drones?
So
how do they manage?
See, I actually think this new one and even the M300 for cell towers should be really good because you don't have to get close anymore. When I used to do it the Mavic 2 Pro or the Phantom 4 Pro, you have to get very close to a cell tower.
Oh, there's a new Phantom 4 coming, isn't there? SE or something. Yeah, Phantom 4 Pro, something or other.
SE just means we've run out of parts. We're making it cheaper.
We've changed enough parts that we're going to label it something else. Yeah, that's usually the term.
But Ian, who is the guy that is sponsored by DJI? I'm sure he knows all about the special batteries and the special camera. I can see on the backdrop of Ian's the test pictures of M30. What else can I see on the backdrop? Let me. Oh,
yeah, that cube image was taken at 400 foot away.
Yeah.
I'm not in there any form of circle these days after some of the videos I've put out in recent times. But I think it's going to be an interesting product. I think it'll still be widely used in the US as well, ignoring the.
I'm not so sure, Ian.
It comes down to capability.
That last video of the Ukrainian guy and the mortar blowing just seconds after he handpicked the drone has had more effects on people that have decision power than you can imagine. It has touched a lot of places that we cannot imagine, because people got, whether if it's true or not, or it was sheer luck they were bombarding that area, or it was Aeroscope doing their stuff, people completely realized that DJI can know exactly where you are and where your drone is. Yeah, and I believe for the sake of
even I don't know that.
This world, for the sake of the bruises of this world, when someone comes with remote ID, you just put that stupid video on. That is the definitive proof that remote ID, as it is being taught, trying to be implemented, can have severe negative effects.
Yeah. So yeah, Brendan Schulman doesn't agree. He's all for remote ID. He thinks it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's his standard.
Ask him to explain that video. Ask him to explain that video, and they will say, "Oh, lucky coincidence that they were bombarding that area." Oh, come on. The Spanish guy.
It opens a wider picture, doesn't it? Oh, John Jackson, a few months doctor told me. Oh God, okay, righto. There goes that comment. Man, there we go.
Please, Jackson, tell us more. Tell us more, Jackson.
What was that? I missed that.
Good job. Yeah, you didn't need to read it. You're too young. You're too young.
I hope you had a happy ending.
Yes, there you go. Moving on very swiftly. I've put me off my stroke. No, that's not what I meant. So Ukraine has asked for, let's part the M30. Ukraine has asked for a no-fly zone. Ukraine has officially asked, but for the information on all DJI craft flying in Ukraine, all of them, both sides, wherever. Ukraine has asked that anything that has been registered in Russia be deactivated. Does Ukraine have the right to ask that?
Yeah, they have the right to ask.
Does DJI have the right to put any restrictions on anything else?
No, the question that I think the biggest question is, does the Aeroscope systems that are living in Soviet Union are the standard off-the-shelf product,
the advanced ones,
or super-duper version?
Super-duper versions with the antennas.
Yeah. So, but even so, is it possible to duplicate, emulate some kind of way an Aeroscope system and have it more precise and field deployable to the artillery units that are on the field? I don't know. That's lots of unknowns that we all know that technically it's possible. We just put Bruce on that, and we will come up with a Bruce technology system based on a Raspberry Pi Zero that will do it in just like his ADSB system. But I don't know.
The problem is what are Ukraine asking for? Okay. Is it right for a manufacturer to get involved? Number one, okay, so they say we want you to implement a no-fly zone. They can't enforce it, because even if they put geofencing up everywhere, you've got to connect the drone to the internet to get that geofencing. Number one. If you're going to then step in, where'd you draw the line? From DJI's point of view, and all the drone manufacturers, actually, they all openly say they do not make their products for use military applications.
Ian, let me interrupt you for a second. Isn't it true that the companies that provide altered firmware to DJI to avoid the no-fly restrictions are based in Russia?
I don't know where some of them are. No, I'm not
Yeah.
sure where they are.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yes, they are.
There's two different camps on that.
Yeah. So
it's a tough one. I don't think any manufacturer can get in the middle of this. It's one thing pulling out of a country. I think what it's a wake-up call is for the effect consumer off-the-shelf drones can have in this situation. And I think no one really anticipated just how important a part they can play for all sides, from reconnaissance, from for very low money. Let's just take a Mavic Mini 2, which costs $500. They're able to do full reconnaissance that you just couldn't do 4 years ago.
I've just remembered saying, just as you said, a friend of mine's got a Mavic Mini 2. He didn't do a firmware update. He did one this week, and it's now restricted his flights to, I think it was to 50 meters distance, 30 meters height, until he registers his DJI device with DJI now. Is that a new thing, or has that always been around?
No, it should be nothing because once it's activated,
it's always there.
You have to.
Yeah. It's always there.
Yeah, you always have to be logged into your DJI account. So your DJI account, if you're not logged into that and the drone's not registered, you can't. It just goes meh.
But usually it won't fly. No, they did make a change in India. Obviously, the Indian regulation.
That's exactly what I said. That sounds like the Indian regulations.
Yeah,
so if DJI, if they're going to comply with the regulations in various countries through their geofencing and that sort of crap, then if Ukraine passes a regulation that says no DJI drones can fly, why shouldn't China?
They
got to be
consistent.
They can't pick. Otherwise, they're just picking sides. If they do nothing, they're picking sides. So they have to do something not to pick sides.
So basically, they've been put in a corner then, haven't they? Right now by Ukraine, they've been put in a corner because Ukraine have officially said, we want this to happen, and I
think that's why they said that, because China's been sitting on the wall over the Russia thing. They're not endorsing it, they're not criticizing it. They're trying to take a neutral stance. I think Ukraine is trying to push them, so they have to take a step either way. Because if China comes out on the side of Russia, that'll bring more likely the West will come in, and if they go the other way, well, it's a strategic advantage to them.
But then again, that's only on products sold. Remember that. For instance, if they turn around and say you must sell all products with geofencing, which means they're not allowed to fly in Ukraine, they can just not sell products in Ukraine and not comply with it. So the problem here is what Ukraine want is for them to shut all aircraft down or provide them the data for it. I don't think they can get involved. If I'm honest, the second you get involved, you're involved all sides. Would we then say we want Apple to tell the government where every iPhone is because troops might be using iPhones, Android phones? Do we expect Samsung to say this is where all of our phones are?
From Apple, we have the opposite point of view, right? They usually don't tell anything to authorities.
No,
or at least that is not openly discussed.
But also remember, like you said earlier, unless you connect your drone to the internet, it won't update anyway. So even if they did push in a big no-fly zone, as soon as you would know not to connect to the internet. And I've got a spare Mavic 2 Pro knocking about, and I just wouldn't, any of my kit, I just won't connect it to the internet. I will not take on a new update.
So what's to stop China from saying, okay, we'll implement a no-fly zone? Because it would be ineffective, but it would say, well, we're just following the regulations of the country, rather than saying, we're only going to follow the regulations of the countries that we want to follow, because then it makes a mockery of the whole thing. This is designed to appease regulators.
They could implement a blanket policy which would say we will instigate no-fly zones over all war zones. However, this isn't a war zone officially.
Well, it is.
And that's
it's a special military operation, is it?
No.
It's a peacekeeping mission.
Okay. The rest of the world, so the whole world is calling it a war, but one country says it's a special military operation where we lie through our teeth at every opportunity given, because let's face it, Putin has lied to his teeth.
We're still letting it happen, Mark.
Yeah, that's just your opinion, Mark.
Don't get me started, Ian, because we should just go in and wipe out and push Russia right back to their border.
There are two sides to every story.
That's the end of this stream, then.
Yeah.
let's not fall on that rabbit hole, Mark.
I would literally say I believe we should just have used our air and taken them all the way back to their border and just hold them there. And just go.
Anyway, did anyone watch the Archers this week? No. Listen.
How was your horse? My horse got dropsies. Have you tried turpentine? I have, but it's died.
It is a tough one. Where does the manufacturer draw the line? If we're going to, I think it's unfair to. I have seen there's a lot of stone throwing at DJI on this. And I think if you start with them, then you've got to start with all devices. You've got to go down the road of anything outside of a stick. The manufacturer has to disable or thing it.
Manufacturers are doing this already. Coca-Cola and McDonald's, and they've all pulled out of Russia. So that manufacturers are taking a stand.
No. I think the only guy that is happy is Bruce, because this proves his point to, I don't know how much can it be proven that the remote ID is a very bad idea.
Yeah.
And I think
it really has woken up the industry. Though people have gone, because people didn't know about Aeroscope. It's like, hey, what? Hey, well, they really didn't realize. So
the video's legit. Do we think it's legit?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
It doesn't matter because the potential is there anyway.
Yeah. The potential is there.
Well, you can imagine. I always thought that the first time someone would be shot for flying a drone with any kind of detection will be in America, and it will be under remote ID. I always thought that's where it's going to happen first, and it'd be too late to change the regs because the regs have come in. But now it's like, well, it changes, like you guys say, it changes the opinion now.
But didn't I read that GPS is all up the buoy through Eastern Europe because of
even into England, so Europe, even into England.
Yeah,
I can tell you that I've been in a country where the Aeroscope is heavily used, and we were flying right by a no-fly zone due to some kind of nature reservation, and it is marked as a no-fly zone. And in less than 5 minutes, we have the police coming over and asking for all the permits, licenses, and everything, and asking why were we flying on the no-fly zone. And we said, not flying on the no-fly zone.
There's a really good video of a chap with a scrapyard in England who switched on his device in the in his yard, in his caravan, and he switched on his transmitter, and it got knock from the coppers. So it's just, we all know it's there, we all know it works, but a lot of people didn't
work at Gatwick though, did it?
Or did it?
I think the best thing that could happen was that lots of people that are ordering and asking for some kind of drone things got aware that there is a brand that of drones that, when used, can reveal your position in a very deterministic way.
And not only will it do they make because they bloody sell, it's double dipping, isn't it? They're getting both sides of the coin. It's very, very clever. It's very, very clever to sell both sides of the,
which makes me surprised that DJI are so in favor of a remote ID, because it kind of removes a share of their market, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
They're in favor. No, they're in favor of the one that they're very good at executing, because they've already done it. So they're in favor.
Who needs to buy an Aeroscope when you've got remote ID on all the drones?
Oh, every airport, every big, all the stuff that needs to do.
Yeah, come on. When they have 70 or 80% of the market, come on, it's an easy sell for them. You say, the other drones doesn't matter. We own 80% of the market, so just get the system that works with 80% of the market.
The other thing I wanted to bring into this, though, is the thing that's kind of always offended me from the beginning, is the with my ex-air traffic head-on, is the provision of aeronautical data that is inaccurate within the apps and maps provided, and then so this is a bit of a DJI dig. The arbitrary bow tie sort of things they've put on aircraft, things on airspace around airfields, things.
Isn't
that
our
have
friend Richard involved in selling some of that data to some of the providers?
Richard, who's, if you're watching Richard, I wanted him on tonight, but he's got COVID. So hello, Richard, with COVID. I hope you and your family are feeling better. Yeah, exactly. No, I hope he's they're
coming on.
No, because you've probably got it as well again, haven't you? But the
me twice I've streamed live with COVID on here.
and when we say stream, we mean stream.
Yeah, he's been spreading it through the ether.
But the Ethernet, the provision of aeronautical data. Now, Richard's data is pretty cool, but it is a little. So they put genuine aeronautical data, but the DJI gear is still has the DJI no-fly zones and things in it. I really think if you're flying in the country, your regulator should be providing the data, because if anything's wrong, it's wrong for everybody in the same way.
I can tell you that most of the European countries provide their users a site or an app that clearly shows where you can and cannot fly, where you can fly with restrictions, where you have to ask for permits, where it's a free to fly. I think most of the countries in Europe are doing that.
They do that, but then what operators do, perhaps more in the private sector, is they'll go, oh, if I open up this web page, it tells me I can't fly here. But if I look on my DJI app, it says I can fly here. Therefore, I will use the information on my DJI app. And that's how the flight plan.
Anyway. And then there's the DJI app restrictions when there is no restrictions from your aeronautical authority.
Yes.
Usually for airfields that have been deactivated 50 years ago or something like that. I think that DJI has put someone looking at Google Maps, and when they see a strip of more than 100 meters long, a straight paved area, they could call it an airstrip.
So it gets worse, because like with the DJI FPV drone, people say, oh, you can unlock it if you want to fly at your airfield, but I can't do that now without upgrading to a no backgrade version of the software, which will cripple my system for other things. So I can't even unlock my DJI FPV drone to fly at my airfield without some fairly significant unintended consequences.
Well, that brings me on to the next thing I wanted to talk about. Has your aircraft actually changed then with that firmware update? And should it go through any certification process again, should there have been some?
Well, that's what happens in aviation world. You know that. You should know that.
Exactly. So why doesn't it happen in our world?
Did you see the Lewis Rossman video? In Europe, was it AEG or someone? They have microwave ovens and steam ovens and all sorts of things, and they have firmware, and they do over-the-air updates for the firmware. And unfortunately, they sent the software for the steam oven to the microwave oven, so they bricked all the microwave ovens across Europe with this thing. Now they have to go and physically visit everyone and reflash firmware. Yeah. So imagine the potential with drones for this to happen. This would be terrible.
Well, yeah, so regulators surely in your operational safety cases or whatever your current documents are calling it, they should say, the CAA should say something like, all your approvals are for this Mavic, whatever, with firmware version, boom, and that's it.
Help me out understanding something, Gary. Has any aviation authority approved of any drone? Do they have the right and the power of authorizing drones?
Well, perhaps you've got to get into the loop a little bit faster and a little bit.
Don't. So why do we care?
There is a certification process in New Zealand.
Well,
in New Zealand, there is over a certain weight you must be certified, and it involves, even if it's a model aircraft, it has to be tested and verified and effectively become certified, and that's renewed every so many months or years or whatever. Has to be redone.
Do they also crash test it, Bruce? or they leave it.
Well, no, that's up to the user to do that.
So while YASA has pushed back another year on the C rating stuff, they actually are now 2 companies that I know of that can rate the aircraft. So while they may have pushed back the regs a year, actually right now you could send that M30 or you could send a Mini 2 to this company and get it rated. That actually is possible right now.
Yeah.
So
are you willing to pay for that? That's all about money.
I'm daft. That's DJI can pay for that.
But my sort of assertion.
I think what will happen is if we have to start having mandated recertification or first-time certification of drones in any way, shape, or form, you can bet that the drones will die with the firmware they were released, because the manufacturers will lose all incentives to correct anything because they don't want to go through another recertification process.
Well, so could you imagine the Mavic 3 then? So the release of the Mavic 3, where half the stuff didn't work, could you imagine if it was firmware locked to version 1?
They wouldn't have launched it. They wouldn't have launched it and would have launched it now that the firmware is more ready.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. The launch cycles will start falling out of It's Christmas in 3 months' time. We've got to launch something. They'll start falling away from that. And the only firmware upgrades that will probably go through with, this is me taking this from the top of my head, without some major issues from the authorities, will be stuff where a safety bulletin's issued. And if you add the word safety, they'll let that through. But right now, you know, if let's be fair to aviation authorities, they might come and see you. They've seen how you're flying, seen everything works lovely, and then you upgrade to a version of firmware that proves to be completely microwave oven. And what are they to do? And you don't tell them that you've done that. What are they to do when the crashes start happening?
So currently in ops manuals, so if you fly in a specific category, for example, like I do, so you can overfly and stuff. In our ops manual, we actually have a section on firmware updating. Every manual will have a section about what processes you'll go through, and then you'll take the aircraft out. And before any commercial flights, you're going to go and put it through its paces. So you'll check return to home still works as it should. You'll check your collision sensors are still working. You'll make sure that the aircraft is performing as it should do, basically, and then it should be certified again for flying again under my operational authorization. So that's how it currently works if you're a PDRA 01 holder, if you like, in the UK.
It's just
but
we're coming to the end of these. Sorry, go on, Dave.
No, we all know, Mark, that your operations manual just tests some basic functionality that might not work in certain specific conditions. We all remember the return to China problem instead of the return to home.
I must be the most unluckiest person ever, and I should touch some wood somewhere when I say return to China never happened to me. Not with an A2, not with a Wukong, not with anything that I've flown has gone, I want to go back to China. I've heard the horror stories. I know people have had the horror stories. I've not had the horror stories.
I've seen it happen, and it's funny as hell. So, and yes, the drone was sitting in the ground until we got all the green lights from the GPS system. It took off wonderfully, and the middle of the flight, battery about half full. He decided I need to go home and went to China.
Oh dear!
I think we're moving out of the sort of Badlands or cowboy territory, or I don't know quite how to put it, but we've got to move away to a point where things are certainly companies like DJI can't roll out semi-stealthily roll out firmware updates that balk bought previous stuff and restrict things.
Mark this podcast date so that we can in a year we can bring
nothing
back.
would have changed.
No. If nothing has changed, or if DJI has fallen from their pedestal.
Oh, DJI.
I'm very, very weary of what will happen going forward. I don't know.
Why do you? That's a strange thing. If you just say, why did you say that? You're one of their power users. That's all you use all around the world.
Yeah, but these latest developments have caused commotion, not only on the part of the professional users, but also on the customers. And that's where the pressure might come. So, imagine Mark that goes to a customer and he shows up with a DJI drone, and the customer says, "Sorry, don't want that." What will happen to all the DJI fleet that Mark and Ian have?
The question, I suppose, is...
I can answer that.
They'll go on eBay. And nobody will want them.
The question is this unique to DJI? You know, how detectable are Autel? And the problem here is this has all been very hidden. You know, the control links are encoded, so it's only the manufacturer have been able to show what they can see. DJI, for instance, Autel, they're all using AES encryption. Yet, as Gary said earlier, they've been double dipping. They've been selling to both sides. And, you know, I said in what I wrote, this is a bed they have made for themselves here and a problem they have created. And if it was just about remote ID, I think it would be less of an issue, because that is a government mandated thing, regardless of if they lobbied for it or not. This is about DJI's own controlling, handing over that data outside of a government mandated requirement. And that's where the problem, and that's what Aeroscope is. You know, Aeroscope is literally DJI saying, we're going to show you bits of the data that tell you where the aircraft is and everything. And it is a problem they've created for themselves. And the only way out of it is to turn it all off, which they can't do. They've literally, you know, paved the path to hell for themselves on this one.
I don't know. I got to think about that a little bit.
I mean,
I think I'd say they know exactly what they're doing, and they're selling loads of gear to both sides.
I mean, the kicker is now. So, you know, this is not the right cube to use, by the way, in a drone. So this is a purple cube, but I would say, you know, the kicker is now. The flight controllers, you know, you don't want to go DJI. You're going to choose probably the cube, because you'd have an orange cube like behind Ian, because that's what you really want, you know. But now the problem is getting that payload that can match the DJI payload. That's going to be the kicker for anyone that doesn't want DJI aircraft.
Well, if governments want indigenous systems, they're going to have to invest in the companies in each country that might bring them to you, and they're going to have to chuck in the amount of money that the Chinese government chucked into DJI. It was millions and millions and millions of dollars, and that's why they're so far ahead.
And they have the best payloads, easy to use payloads. You just can't. I've not seen anything that, you know. Okay, so we've got the other drone companies, but you know, the DJI ones are just brilliant.
I am
surprised.
It's
a whole unboxing experience, isn't it? It's a whole.
It's turnkey, and I am surprised there hasn't been more noise from the US over this video, because if we look at the worst case scenario, let's just think World War III a minute, US v China. You're going to have stuff going off, and then suddenly all of the populace flying their toy drones to see what's happened, showing their enemy what's going on potentially, and B, where they are. You know, there's a fire in a building, people put drones up to go and have a look what's going on. So if we did get in a situation where the horror to think. Ukraine was never on anyone's radar. It could go to what it has done. There's been things, but no one imagined there could be what we're seeing today. Yet it's happened. So people say, "Oh, it'll never go to World War III." Well, won't it? You wouldn't have said we wouldn't have had a global pandemic that shut us down for 2 years. Things happen, and I'm surprised it just hasn't been more kickback against that. Oh, really? So if we were in that position, that could happen to us. And as Louis is saying, it's going to make a lot of people behind the scenes think, but I'm surprised there hasn't been more public thought.
In America, I don't think there'll ever be foreign boots on the shores. But it's going to be a long distance war fought with, very high load munitions. It's not like Ukraine, where you got people standing hundreds of meters apart fighting each other with light armament. It's going to be a totally different war. So I guess they're going to say it'll never happen here. It's not important.
But Ian, imagine we don't see much kickback about that video. Who would do the kickback? Who are the YouTubers that you think would have influence and would say something and shut their wonderful relationship with the manufacturer? Come on, you're already on the naughty list. You're already on the naughty list.
It's not getting a Christmas card. I'm definitely not.
And Gary wouldn't want to lose all that valuable advertising.
Exactly.
Yeah. I suppose, but it's not even about the YouTubers, is it? I suppose, though, you are quite right.
No, come on. You get the news from the YouTubers and TikTokers. So
the problem is these days, YouTubers are too scared to say anything because they'll get cancelled. You can't say if you're not aligned with the YouTube ideology, you're out of the park.
You saying Ian's got to do some sort of TikTok dance? Is that what you're saying? They're saying, Ian, look at
show us your shorts. Show us your shorts.
Ian, think about it a moment. I've been quite busy these last few weeks, but today I opened up YouTube and I got guys that I would not expect to be promoting the M30, saying that they have the M30 for weeks.
Yeah.
Potato jet.
Will we see those guys saying something about negatives?
Well, they're not. The thing is, they're not reviews. Potato Jet made it abundantly clear at the start of his video. This is a sponsored video. It's an ad. Let's not pretend it's anything but an advert showing what it can do. And it is interesting, DJI's move now. They have cut a lot of people out of their circles. If you look at the people they're dealing with now, I reckon you can count about, between the UK and Europe, about 20, 25 people. It's not as many as it used to be. There's a much smaller group of people. And as you say, how many of them are going to really bite the hand that feeds them? Because it literally is the hand that feeds them, because they're sponsored videos. If we look at the Mavic 3, Peter McKinnon, Potato Jet, some of the biggest channels weren't reviews. They were sponsored videos. They were paid by DJI to make the content, and that is a problem in the drone industry.
And that photographer, that very famous, I missed the name now. He did quite a damaging video for the Mavic 3.
Philip Bloom.
Yeah.
Now, Philip was independent. They sent it to him, but he wasn't paid by them to make it. And it wasn't a great review. And Philip's a very good guy, a British guy. And but if you look at it, and it is a problem we have right now, that most of the reviews are actually not reviews anymore. Most of the reviews are sponsored content paid for by the manufacturer. And I'm not saying DJI is wrong in doing that. They can spend their own money how they want to. But the problem is, it's a problem for the industry when you got people looking at all of these going, well, is it a review or isn't it? And I've complained about this a few times, but should it be the case that they can't pay them to make the content? Perhaps this is a bigger problem for YouTube than it is. It's not necessarily related to the drone industry. Should it be,
Well, YouTube likes just bringing in if you promote financial products or financial advice, then they're going to fine you with a license. They're going to fine you.
But I mean, YouTube likes the fact. YouTube loves the fact that there's sponsored content because it means they don't have to pay the creators so much by way of AdSense revenue. In fact, I would say that if sponsored content was cancelled or made against the terms of service on YouTube, you would lose a lot of channels. A lot of big channels might just decide not having it.
And interestingly, here's something I thought about before. Surely, in my opinion, a sponsored video should be on the manufacturer's channel, not that person's. You know what I mean? So we've paid this guy to come and talk about our product, but you've got to put that on your channel, the manufacturer's channel, and people need to go there and see it. And yeah, it's and I'm not saying I picked up
how many followers does the DJI channel have, and how many followers those famous YouTubers have?
Yeah. It is.
You know how the game works. Come on, Ian.
Dan, I'm up for that. I'm up for that, Dan. It's a great idea.
It's interesting because RunCam was sending Ron some cameras and things, and they said to him, "Can you put your videos on Bruce's channel?"
RunCam. Some RunCams. They've got to change the name for that production runner. RunCams.
And it's not about manufacturers sending people stuff for free. That's fine. But the problem is, a sponsored video is basically an ad. That's what it is. This is an advert that the manufacturer has approved. So, and there might be a comment at the start that says this is a sponsored video, but how many people really understand that? Perhaps there should be.
That's the bit I click through, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. And how many should there be? Perhaps should there be a 10-second still frame required that says this video has this, it has been done by this, this, and this, and really clamp down on it? Because the problem is, it is bad for genuine channels who want to say how it is and may have good things to say, but they get drowned out by the sponsored videos.
I think we need more non-judgmental unboxings. That's what we need.
I'm going to do a
unboxing. Those unboxings are always.
John Joyce makes a good point there. It's very tricky, isn't it? That's kind of the argument I had with Brendan on Twitter. I didn't know Patrick had asked him for some money, but there we are. But yeah, it's some nonsense. It does get pushed me. Today I've had 4 people saying, "Oh, we're a Ukrainian company and we'd like to post some stuff." And no, you're not a Ukrainian company. We'd like to post some stuff on SES News. You're another flipping article farm trying to get stuff up. And now you're calling yourself a Ukrainian article farm. Yeah,
I was going to send you an article, actually, Gary. I was going to write something up about the M300 and send it over.
Yes, you must. You must.
The M300?
M30, sorry.
So Wednesday, drunk stuff live streams. Well, the only trouble is it is a school day for me on a Thursday.
Yeah.
So there could be a bit issues. But it's Sunday, and Sunday night, of course, is Ian's stream. And Bruce is, well, this could be whatever one
I'm
Bruce
going to
is
be
going to start.
starting some streams. I have to find a gap. The streamosphere is totally clogged. I need to find a little opening so I can squeeze into.
Sunday's getting out of control. Sunday was quite funny.
If Ian posts an article on Suez News, if Ian posts an article on Suez News, is it a sponsor?
$1 million.
Yeah, it's a sponsored article,
pays
right?
Me handsomely for writing articles for SUS News. It's beyond.
No, he pays me.
Didn't he double the payment recently? Hasn't it doubled in the last few months?
I don't charge anybody to put anything. Your company's got stuff, but
he won't even check what it says. He'll just put it up there, so you can write any old shit.
Exactly.
And he'll pay you with free grooming tips. Free grooming tips. You can have bed hair like Gary if you submit an article to SUS News.
Well, yeah, but the only caveat is if I think it's complete tosh, I won't publish it. That's the caveat. But then sometimes, like when I had that perpetual motion,
I've seen lots of tosh on your website.
No. Well, I will. If there's tosh that I think it comes back to Drone's comment earlier, Drone Droid. People need to be discerning. I trust the people that read SUS News to have enough smarts to work out when I put something that's so ridiculous, like the perpetual motion machine that I put up, because it was so funny. But then
you're such a naysayer, Gary. Such a naysayer.
The complaints I had when I put that up, it's like, come on. Anyone can see straight through that.
You're implying people read the website, Gary, to have complaints. Have I missed something?
Well, it was me mum. Yeah. It's funny. Friday's worse. Friday's worse. So
Sunday's getting difficult. I'll be honest. Even I'm struggling with Sundays because there's about 5 people streaming now, and none of us coordinate. None of us actually talk to each other, and sometimes one of us will go on for an hour, one of us might go on for 3 hours, and then you overspill each other. But yeah, it was quite funny this, and because I ended up on a stream. He was streaming at the same time I was streaming, and he was asking me a question, and I was asking him a question, and we were both sharing each other's streams live, and it got a right mess at one point.
That's some sort of
there was ectoplasm everywhere.
Are you going to do a live stream, Bruce? Come on, you got to do one. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah, just waiting for my new graphics card to arrive.
What have you ordered?
Huh?
What have you ordered?
Yeah, I got a RTX 360 LHR, which I picked up for $648, which wasn't bad. New Zealand dollars. That's like now 27 cents American.
Come on, Bruce. Those are cheap now because you got the new 4080. So the new 4080 is the toy to have.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to upgrade my 3080 for a 4080.
Yeah. The thing is, I got the 3060 because it's got 12 gigs of video RAM, which is really useful.
Yeah.
Can do your 3060 deal.
Come on, Bruce. An influencer. Come on, Bruce. A good influencing YouTuber like Bruce must have a
Mark,
M1
that mining
studio.
plan you had is gone out the window. Have you seen energy pricing? Right, it's all stopped. Even I've shut mine down. So,
and Whiskey Wednesday does sound ideal, but it's a flipping school day the next day. The headmaster would not be best pleased with me.
I'm going to become an Ethereum millionaire.
Yeah, there you go, Dan. Dan, well, there you are. You can start a live stream, Dan, and you know exactly what to call it. But I think you're in America, so it would be very late in the evening for us, unless you start a drink in the afternoon. But maybe that's something you could accommodate. Whiskey lunchtimes, whiskey midday.
And don't forget that Ian and I are going to be doing live streams focusing on cameras really soon.
Your camera.
Our camera streams. Yep.
How many years have you been talking about that now?
Can't rush these things. Can't rush them.
You can't.
So who is going to speak about the other launch of yesterday? That was the 1RS from Mr. 360.
Oh yeah.
Does anyone care?
He's probably got one.
But in other news, I just read this just a moment ago. Apparently in Washington State, you will have to register your drone if it's used for commercial purposes by the 1st of April 2022. So that's on top of the FAA registration. You've got to register with the state. Register your drone with the state now. It's getting stupid.
It's getting ridiculous.
For that. Yeah.
It's getting ridiculous.
And there'll doubtless be a fee.
I just worry that I see, shipments, boxes and boxes of new DJI stuff going into Ukraine, and I am worried that that's already going to be balked as they wrap it out the cellophane. I've
got a whole lot of freestyle drones. Maybe I should send them over. No GPS on those buggers. Yeah.
Well, I did see one of them being used to film some recent stuff because you can't get tracked, of course. So you don't get mortared if you're using one, basically.
Yeah, that mortared video means something to us because we instantly, and to our dear viewer, or several dear viewer, but it means that instantly to us because we completely understand it because we fly stuff. But to the general public, the general population, it might just seem like, oh, that's how lucky was that guy? He nearly got hit by a mortar. There's no connection between how that might have happened and why it happened. So I don't
think that the first mugging in America where someone gets killed for their phone, that will be the turning point.
Yeah,
I mean that happens. Yeah. That mugging for a phone, that's a really good analogy. That happens here all the time. People get shot for their phone.
To be fair, Gary, a lot of bad things happen where you are all of the time.
Is it a coincidence? Is it because Gary's there?
It's like Miss Marple, isn't it? Everywhere she went, Jessica Fletcher, everywhere she went, someone died.
Yeah,
I would never live in Midsummer. That's a very dangerous place to live.
That's why Gary is in the school. Come on, yeah. Someone has to teach those methods.
Right? Won't someone think of the children?
She pitched up to another hotel. Oh, there's a dead body. Oh, God.
Funny enough, at the cricket today, one group of 6-year-olds, one of them says, oh, somebody died in our house, and another one said, oh no, somebody died in our house as well, over the history of the house. Then the next child says 2 people died in my house. Next person says 4 people died in my house. as children go, and then the
last one said, I live in a mortuary.
I want to know where Andrew. Right. I want to know where Andrew is seeing people getting £150 for ad revenue from YouTube, because he says here we've got every VPN pays 1,500. Well, they haven't come to me for 1,500 quid because I'd have taken it.
Well, they've come to me, but I told them to go away.
Up front. No, do you want to give me 1,500 quid for 3 mentions? I'm all in. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna prostitute myself for that. Look, Nord were out there. They were doing all those sponsorships, and then it found out their product was crap. Imagine having that on your reputational record.
But I'd love to know where he's thinking you get 150 quid for ad revenue. We're missing out on that one somewhere.
Where's Squarespace? What do they pay?
Squarespace, I don't know. As I said, I haven't got the sticker on my back of my chair. Their ad
I should imagine this month I've probably topped somewhere in the order of £2.50.
Yeah.
I think I can do better at £1.75.
Yeah.
You guys will have to watch. They'll get you for money laundering unless you can, ferret that money away. It's always a worry.
Squirrel it away, absolutely. But if I hold it really close, it's really big money, so it must be worth more.
Yeah.
Well, I had a pretty good month last month, as months go from YouTube, and this month's looking okay because my Russian helicopter video's just taken off, which I thought it might. I must say, I did exercise a little bit of skill in that one.
What could have made that happen? I wonder.
Yeah, I haven't had a bad month, Bruce. To be honest, it's the DJI locking everyone out of their drones went down like a storm. So thanks for that one. Every cloud has a silver lining and all of that.
Absolutely.
I think that here the culprit is Bruce, because his titles on the videos are so I miss the words. So disingenuous, so catchy.
They're not false. They are not false. God. They are just a different perspective. That's what they are, a different perspective.
Yeah.
YouTube never shows
you. Know what you're doing, basically. You know what you're doing. You're getting the eyes.
You've got to, though.
YouTube never shows me yours, Bruce. You, Dave Jones, hardly ever shows me EV blog stuff. I'm subbed to all of you, but it never. And there's a couple of guys as well. I follow.
I never get Chris. I Force 2D. I don't know if he's.
I mentioned on Twitter. Every FPV, every video I watched that has FPV in the title now has a Barbie ad or a Mattel toy ad.
Yes, I saw you mention that. Yeah. I'm just looking. I'm just getting.
And the only toys I look for are adult ones, not these kids ones.
Yeah, model aircraft, of course. That's right, isn't it? I'm just trying to find my the actual number to give you
96,000 views on that video, Bruce. Bloody hell!
Yeah, it was going just normal, and then all of a sudden it just pinged straight up because I think it must have been popped into the recommended feed for a lot of people or something.
Well, the there we are, $16.09.
I got £5.44.
Yeah, well, that's your retirement taken care of.
It is, but then I've not made a video in God knows how long, so
That's the nice thing about YouTube, residuals, that's the key.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because old Kevin Finisterre's talk on counter UAS from the Drone SUSB Expo is the one that is peaking. funny old thing that.
That is very well done, Bruce. Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm just watching it now. You have got that nailed. You really have. I thought that was a full-size chopper as well.
Yeah. Those that know though. It was very good. If you haven't seen it, Kevin's video from our show talks all about what some of the potential dangers of aeroscope. And the good news, if you don't know, @.slash on Twitter and in real life, Kevin really just took apart DJI systems to discover how they were communicating, and he got out of it for a couple of years, but this has piqued his interest so much, he's bought a new DJI system and he's back in the saddle, busy taking it apart, looking at the data streams and pulling other stuff apart. So good stuff will come from that, I'm sure, for the industry.
Good from Kevin. We need more Kevins taking those things apart.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Mind you, you'll have to watch he doesn't run foul of the DMCA, because that's if it's got an encryption or any kind of protection in software, and he reverse engineers that, he's violating their IP under the DMCA. Make me say,
but I thought most of them be dead by now. Surely most of them be dead. I mean, they only had that one song in the 70s, and they can't be around to worry about that sort of thing anymore. Surely. It's fun to
unless they sold the rights to the music to one of those big funds, but that's another story.
Well, he said he did actually mention that he had been given some trouble for putting a pair of googly eyes on something. He did DMCA takedown on that or something like that. But look, we have definitely deteriorated.
But there's one question we haven't covered, which is quite important, I think, to a lot of people: Steps or Spice Girls?
I got
Spice Girls.
A copyright strike for showing that South Park thing on Sunday.
What
did you? Ooh, is it a warning or a strike?
Warning. I got a warning.
Yeah.
Almost.
But hang on, I guess it wasn't it was a reaction video, wasn't it?
It was, apparently.
Well, the reaction videos are fair use. Appeal.
Yeah, I need to go and do that, actually.
Well,
but does an appeal turn it into a strike if it's a warning? Just check first.
So, which South Park was that? The one where they fly drones everywhere?
No. The It bike.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Andrew knows someone's 30k subs. Well, I dream of having 30k subs. So that must mean, because Bruce has got 400,000 now. So let's say 300. Yeah. So then you should be getting £1,500 for every 30k of them. That's a lot of £100. Very good.
No, it's about $1 something per 1,000 views.
And I noticed on that video you mentioned, the potato person that's got one of the new things. It only had 10,000 views when I looked at it today. It's probably shot.
Well, it's not a big market, is it?
It was being heavily promoted when I opened. I've been open YouTube for say 1 week and something. And today, when I opened YouTube, and it was right on the top. So it has been heavily promoted, and I don't subscribe his channel.
Yeah.
And it was appearing organically. Let's say it.
It's at 96k now.
96. Okay.
One thing you've got to watch too is if you do put a video up that you know is going to get low views, it does have an impact on how likely YouTube is to recommend future videos to non-subscribers. So there is a cost involved in doing a video that you know will not be popular. And I take that because when I do my ranty talking head videos, I know that's going to have a negative hit on the channel because it's stuff I want to get out there, but it's not stuff most people want to watch. So the next few videos, even if they're really good, are unlikely to do well.
It is interesting when you look at the numbers tail off very, very fast. So when you look down the M30, you've got Potato Jet at 96k, then you've got 51 drones, and that's a really good video on it. If you haven't seen it, and that's only got 13k, and then it goes down from there to another one with 17k, and then it goes down to 5k, 1k.
It's interesting because drone reviews as such are getting really poor views now. Drone reviews are getting very few views. People are over it, and they don't want to, and reviews are a really bad area of the market to be in because they've no residual and they don't get a lot of views anymore. That's why I haven't done that much with RC model reviews in terms of reviewing.
What's the numbers on the official DJI channel?
135, which is still low for them, And the interesting thing is, if you take a channel like 51 Drones, he's got 170,000 subscribers and 13,000 views on that video. So it just shows that wasn't the core market for that at all.
But like I told you, I don't know who's going to buy it. I know people are going to buy it. It remains to be seen. It's a big unknown.
They'll sell gazillions of security companies.
And
10,000 euros to enjoy the pleasure of playing with it. That's an expensive.
But in a few months' time, they'll bring out a 99 watt-hour battery for it, and you'll have to buy it.
Chris, I mentioned your name because your videos never get recommended, and I like your videos. And we were mentioning channels that don't get that, even though you subscribe and click that notification bell, it don't ring.
And interestingly, there's some really low numbers on the Mavic 3 as well. And I was looking yesterday at the YouTube search analytics. It's on its bottom. It is completely trailing on 0. The A2S and the Mini 2 are still the most popular search models by a long, long way. I
bet was it how do you say it? Whatever that.
Can you check the M30 versus the M30?
You can do the analytics. Probably haven't updated yet. You want to do it about a month afterwards, Louis, and look at the first month on both. What was clear with the Mavic 3, there was a huge amount of interest for like a week, and then it just tailed off. And then the A2S and the Mini 2 have been predominantly the big ones. I think.
Where's my Autel Nano? That guy was going to send me an Autel Nano. I haven't got it. I want an Autel Nano.
It doesn't work for him anymore.
Well, that's got fired because he said, "Oh, I'm going to send Bruce Simpson an Autel Nano." Oh, you're out the door, mate.
If they're sending you one, get the Nano Plus.
Actually, it's the only drone I'd consider buying at the moment if I wanted a camera drone.
It's very good, Bruce, because I had one for a couple of weeks. It's very good, but if you live anywhere windy, it's gonna and if you like 1080p footage, no, it doesn't do 1080p 60 very well at all because it's got a crop, but it's okay. I think you would be better with the Lite Plus.
Yes, the Lite Plus is a very
Is it sub 250?
No.
No, I want a sub 250. I'm not interested in anything more than 250 grams.
It'll be the Nano Plus then. It's very good. Very, very, very good. However,
did you get the firmware update while you were testing?
Yes, I had all the new firmware as well. Yes, so it's a good product. My complaints are the remote is badly designed. It's a good remote. They just didn't think of where we were going to put the sticks. Hello. They come off, hello. There's some silly little things, but actually it would be no good for me because where I live is very windy and it doesn't particularly hold up well. But that's a sub 250 error issue.
That's a sub 250. You know that.
Yeah. It's going to happen, isn't it?
For me, I would be really tempted on the Lite Plus, but I don't have NFC issues. So at the end of the day, I am tempted to sell my Mavic 2 Pro and the Inspire 2. I'm actually tempted to let them both go, but I'll probably hold. The only thing I say is the Mavic 2 Pro is even the Mavic 3 wasn't that any better. Fundamentally.
Wasn't enough better.
That the one drone that I was very, very impressive is the big brother of those two. I was going to get one for testing, and I got the Evo 6K, Evo Pro 2.
I got one here now.
With the 6K camera. When we are offline, I'm going to tell you a trick.
Okay.
Well, that's not very nice, Louis, to say that. Sorry, everybody. He's like that. He's like that.
Join Gary's Patreon now. You'll get access to this exclusive footage only to Patreon.
Hang on. I better set it up quick then.
Now, do you have the standard remote or the big remote?
The standard remote.
Yeah, the big remote is a joy to use. It's heavy, but those 2,000 nits on the display make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
So, quick question, Ian. Which Inspire 2 do you have? X5S or X4S?
X5.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually this is what happens when you have a pre-release one. It's actually the X5 Mark II. Try and find one of them in the real world because it technically doesn't exist. But that's what it was originally going to be called.
Save it for the museum.
Well, I was going to say, because the thing is, if I was clearing out drones at the minute, the problem is the Inspire 2s aren't getting what you call good money.
You're not going to see that, are they?
No, we can't.
Well, they're going to have to refocus to show this. This is an exclusive. I don't think I've ever shown this.
Yeah, put it away.
There you go. X5
Oh God.
II. Oh yeah. Huh.
That's what it was called originally before it was labeled the X5S. It's a final production run with a slightly different name on it.
Okay, because I just don't know what Inspire 2s are cheap now. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to sell it because I'm not really going to get a lot for it.
Well, you may as well sell it now while you can get something for it, because if you leave it much longer, you really won't get anything for it. You know, it's like the Mavic 2 Pro. They're going for peanuts now. You know, they're going for £750 to £800, and it's like, really? Because they're such a good machine. I don't get why they're so cheap. They're so damn good. It's just bizarre. It's just bizarre.
But
everyone looks at the Mini 2 because the Mini 2 can fly anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, it's better if if you've not got something, you get that, and otherwise just keep on tracking. Chris is just saying it's not quite true, and if iForce 2D's channel is fantastic, it really is. He's got some amazing stuff on there. If you haven't come across his work, then please head off there once we've finished and start watching some really amazing stuff. He gets jumps, goes 3K to 50K for no particular reason. Luckily here it's just steady nothing. They never have to worry about anything.
It's all uphill from here.
It's a long way up. But yeah, can you tell I'm not overly into setting up a huge YouTube channel, but it's very nice to have this chat. This I enjoy very much. And that probably is. I should have thought harder about that. That would have been a good way out of this. Have we got anything else we want to talk about this week?
So there is one thing.
Go on then.
On Friday, the 2nd of April, in Oxford, there's going to be a bit of a meetup for UK pilots and stuff. There's going to be a bit of a get together. So if anyone's interested, go to dronemeet.co.uk. I think I'm going to go. It looks like I'm going to be there, so you can go and flame me and roast me. And
pilots, that's a bit pretentious. Don't you mean drone flyers?
Operators.
Drone. I'm just going to double check I got that right.
Has anyone already requested the no-fly zone to that area to DJIs to see how many drones get into the air?
Well, funnily enough, pity Richard isn't here, because Richard, Altitude Angel, and also some aeroscope stuff has been deployed in Oxford as part of this corridor trial that they're doing.
So those aeroscopes include the mortar launchers, those aeroscopes
with mortar launchers.
Isn't there
I feel now I should just go and fly through Richard's flight corridor, just doing this backwards and forwards through it, just for the hell of it.
I wonder if all new battlefield armaments will have aeroscope fitted as a part of the sighting system.
I'm just going to take a ready control plane. Let's see how good his system really is.
Quite a few probably do now. Yeah. and also some of the what was that gun thing that we used to get very angry about, Bruce?
Shotgun.
Lots of adverts.
Shotgun.
No, what was that counter UAS? Was it D-Drone? Who was
yeah,
it?
one of those. Yeah, there's been many of them as an RF gun. Yeah, pointed at the thing, and
because I've seen footage of Russians with that very thing, with that very thing that we were moaning about. I just can't remember the name of it. Any more for any more. Going once. I was trying to end it on a minute, but it's too late now. Going once, going twice. If you are wherever you are in the world, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. I really like the Whiskey Wednesday idea. I can't think of a drink beginning with F for a Friday. A Foster's Friday might be more appropriate.
Foster's isn't a drink.
It's not really, is it? No, it's all I can think of. But yeah, some sort of pub night would be good, wouldn't it? So, with that thought in our heads, if everybody just put it in the chat when you think the pub night should be, and maybe we can work it out once a month, maybe.
Every night's pub night.
Every night's pub night, indeed. And no, Andrew, we want to know where you get all your valuable sponsorships from. I look forward to seeing you again. Froth, there we are. Drone Droid's got it. Frothy Friday, although I can't say it. See you again, 2100 GMT next week. Look after yourselves wherever you are in the world. If you're in Ukraine, all the best. Let's hope it's over soon. Cheers for now, everybody.